I'm back. Um, Not really sure what to talk about. I guess I just had stuff on my mind about life. You know, here I am, 39, and kind of wondering, what am I doing? You know, do I have things figured out? Am I just as lost as I was when I was 21, out of school? Um, I don't know. I know I'm not financially like in any way set up for anything. I'm basically just like, okay, I can pay my bills and that's it. Um, and now with my uncle having passed away, it's I don't know. Um, it was a safety net having him around. Um, I could hit like depressed lows and just say I just can't life for a while, and I could take a month off of figuring out work and things and just sleep, you know, do whatever, um, have fun, get drunk. I mean, be irresponsible, stupid. I don't know. Um, call it a million different things, but if I was somebody that was had his eyes on retirement and things, I'd be like, no, whatever I'm doing, I'm not stopping. I'm working and I'm making money and trying to improve and I think for me, a lot of times I just I'm trying to live in the moment, you know, because I'm always thinking ahead or behind, and it's hard um, to just life that way. Um, and maybe sometimes when I shut down, it's like that's my time to just be like, live in the moment, enjoy the day, get high, get drunk, sleep, whatever, reset. Um, and I mean, I feel like a terrible son and bad nephew, and just I don't know. Um, I wouldn't say that I'm a bad person or anything like that. Um, but and I know other people go through this. Um, I'm not the only person that suffers from depression and anxiety, but I don't know. Like when your parents and your family see you shut down like that, um, it sucks. Like I don't like people seeing me that way, but I also like I don't know what to do. I can take a bunch of medication, but it doesn't seem like that's really helping a lot of people. Um, it certainly didn't help me in my youth. And I tried it in my 20s, and it wasn't much better. Um, I'm on a few medications right now for ADHD and anxiety, and I feel like I've got it managed for the most part, but I still have my moments. You know, I tried ketamine therapy; it was working, at least somewhat. I wasn't on a very high dose. I didn't do the IV injections, or I thought about those, but just financially, it was like $3,000 or $4,000, like, and you're pretty much having to pay for like 2 or 3 visits, kind of. And I got prescribed the nasal spray. I forgot what it was called, but they were only doing trials in my area, and every doctor I talked to was like, well, you got to wait till we can take more patients. And after like 2 years of that, I just finally was like, I think one of those mail order ketamine things, you know, finally was allowed in Tennessee, and I tried that, and I was on like 30 milligrams a day or something. Maybe it was micrograms. I can't remember. Um, but um, I had a pharmacist like freak out and be like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die from ketamine," because dude from Friends that died, and they put me in a system as an addict or whatever, and I got cut off of like everything. The only thing I could basically get was my asthma medication, um, and that really fucking sucked. It was like, here I'm on something for depression, and I'm working with a doctor about that, and it's helping me cut back on my anxiety meds and my ADHD meds, and you just take it upon yourself to say that I'm a drug addict and I'm going to die, and um, and it it had me cut off of everything. I couldn't even take the ketamine anymore. Um, but now it's just the ADHD stuff and the anxiety meds. But I don't know. It's just losing the spice of life and wondering where I'm going and what I'm doing. You know, am I ever going to afford a home? Um, how many years am I going to be paying down a car payment? You know, can I take vacations? You know, and then in the back of my mind, I've got this fear of like, man, you know, I just want to shut down. And maybe that's me figuring out what it's like to be an older guy now. It's just like you can't shut down. You got to be a man. um, I don't know. It's just I'm having one of those moments, where you're just like, you know, I'm not at a bad job in any way, but I definitely want to just sleep and just be like, I can't do this. And then the other half of me is like, no, pick up every bit of overtime you can get, work, work, you know, because that's how I sort of tune out all my problems. Is like if I'm stressed about work and the drama there, then I can't think about my life, um, and everything that's wrong with it, or not as I had expected at this age. Um, I figured I probably would have had a girlfriend, or maybe been married by now. I don't know if I about kids, and um, that's one of those things that I'm not against having kids, but financially, I'm like, how in the world could I have a kid right now? How could I afford a car, and how could I afford a house? How could I take care of a child? And I mean, wife would have to work. It just doesn't seem like it'd be possible without it. I don't know how my sister does it. She's got three boys, and I'm just like, dude, one would be enough, but three, and they're within like a couple of years of each other. I love them, but they're they're a lot. They're a lot to deal with. And then with the world and everything going on, and if they have health problems, and you have health problems, and you can't work or something, and get in a car accident. I mean, just all that stuff. It's like we're in a society that we're just not set up to shut down. Like we can't have time for ourselves. Capitalism has failed. um, it's to the extreme now that we have to work every day just to keep the system going. Um, and that's a lot. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go in the next couple of years and what I'm going to do. And I just try and think about tomorrow. Like, what am I going to eat? You know, do I want to eat? Do I have to work? What time am I going to wake up? I feel like a lot of my life is just going hour by hour, just playing it by ear.